Well, hi, I'm Daniel Feuvre and I work for the Australian Honeybee Industry Council. I'd really like to thank TOCAL for allowing me to present to you guys today. It's been TOCAL Field Day has a really long history and proud history of providing information and communications out, and I'm really excited to be able to be invited and be able to share with you a little bit about what AHBIC does. So AHBIC is a representative body that represents the whole honeybee industry across the country to different stakeholders. So we have a member bodies base or a representative structure, which includes all the state industry associations that you can see there, as well as across the value chain, honey packers and marketers, queen breeders, and behind my screen there is the Crop Pollinators Australia. We've been really excited to be able to welcome on board as a new member. A couple of years ago now is the Amateur Beekeepers Association Australia. They represent the recreational side of our industry to AHBIC and provide feedback based on that. The member bodies provide the strategic guidance to AHBIC through developing the strategic plan, but also through our member body meetings and AGM. It provides really the direction what AHBIC does on a high level annual basis. So all that feedback that we get from our member bodies and direction feeds into AHBIC as an organisation. From there, AHBIC works with a number of different stakeholders across the country to implement the outcomes that we're chasing. So we work with departments like the Environment Department, Department of Ag, Plant Health Australia, AgriFutures, a whole heap of other committees we sit on like the AHBIC and APPIMONDIA to achieve what we want to improve our industry. So, for example, through the Department of Ag, we work with that area of government for levies. We work with them to develop new markets. We're working really hard at the moment to prevent or limit importation of honey. We're also working to provide more robust testing protocols to be able to identify adulteration before it arrives on the shelves. We also work with them around policy setting and reviewing policies, training, setting the Australian standards for training, and labour's a bit of a new one. Like all industries struggling to get workers, we're looking at ways to provide pathways for Australian beekeepers to be able to bring overseas workers in or promote our industry as a better industry to work in so we can get better labour resources. Through Plant Health Australia, which is all around biosecurity, it's oversight and working through the National Bee Pest Surveillance Program, which is all the sentinel hives and all the surveillance work that's happening around the country to prevent incursions. And the National Bee Biosecurity Program, which is the program that has all the biosecurity officers and works across the country on that. We're signatories to the Emergency Plant Pest Response Deed, which is an agreement between industries and government and administered by Plant Health Australia. And we also sit on a number of committees in PHA and work with other industries when they have incursions and that sort of thing that potentially can impact the honeybee industry. We work with AgriFutures in supporting the honeybee panel, providing input through the industry forums and collaborate on projects and help with strategic direction. Many of the committees we also sit on include the ACCC Ag Consultative Committee, which is a really exciting new membership we've gained this last year. That's a very select group of ag representatives to provide feedback into the ACCC around anti-competitive behaviour in ag industries. So we're pretty excited to have a seat at that table now and really be able to push things like imported honey there. We're also members to APPIMONDIA, the Australian representatives to the global organisation. And we sit on many working groups and provide feedback to many other stakeholders, including National Farmers Federation and many other groups like that. So who is AHBIC itself? Who are the people involved? So our current committee, as it stands, is we have a chair, Stephen Targett, from New South Wales, deputy chair, Steve Fuster from WA, myself from South Australia, John Lockwood, New South Wales, Therese Kershaw from New South Wales, Ben McKee from Queensland, and Lindsay Calloway from Victoria. So that's our core executive group that make the decisions and work to achieve the outcomes. From that main executive group, we have a number of subcommittees in AHBIC, and each of those has a lead or a chair that are very much committed to progressing the issues as well. And many of the chairs are the real heavy lifters in the organisation. So we have subcommittees: education, resources, biosecurity, levies, imported honey, national newsletter, and Congress. AHBIC's funding has been predominantly, well, majority of our funding comes through the Friends of AHBIC model. That's really a donation model and requires beekeepers and other people interested in the industry to contribute. There's no minimum level and no maximum, but we encourage all beekeepers and people associated and have an interest in the industry to contribute to AHBIC through the Friends of AHBIC model. It's the only way we can survive. We do not receive any money from levies. So the honey levy that beekeepers are paying, none of that goes towards the running of AHBIC. It goes straight to funding those programs we talked about. We also collect membership fees from our member bodies, but that's relatively insignificant compared to the cost of running AHBIC, so heavily reliant on that Friends of AHBIC model. Some of the highlights from this last year, just to run through. So the 4th Australian Bee Congress was run in June at Sydney Rosehill Gardens. That was really successful. We had between 400 or 500 delegates attend that over 4 days. 90 odd speakers speak there, and a really big event for the industry. This year marks 200 years of honeybees being in Australia, so AHBIC's done a lot of media releases and work around that. We worked really hard with the Royal Australian Mint to develop a coin, a $2 coin, a commemorative coin that's been released and to celebrate 200 years. So that was a really big achievement. We've been heavily involved in the UK Free Trade Agreement and also involved in the Indian Free Trade Agreement, although we didn't really get a great deal out of the Indian one. The UK Free Trade Agreement has some benefits for us. We're continually providing government submissions and presenting to government inquiries to promote and plead our case as an industry. We've had a big program around revamping AHBIC, so developed a new comms plan. We've rebranded the organisation, new website. Part of that was to develop a Home Sweet Home campaign promoting 100% Australian honey to consumers, which has been a big success. A range of stickers, as well as a consumer-facing competition for a year's supply of honey. And so we've gained a lot of support there and really ramped up our social media presence. This last year's also seen a lot of changes in AHBIC, in the people involved. So not only have we had a rebrand, which I talked about, and a new style guide in place, we've also had a number of new office holders. So Trevor Weatherhead and his wife Marion, at the top there, Trevor has just resigned at this last AGM after a term as chair, 2-year stint. But prior to that, he spent many years as the executive director of AHBIC, and the work he's done for our industry has been phenomenal at minimal cost, and the experience and knowledge that he has and has been able to contribute has been phenomenal. I'd like to thank Trevor for the work he's done. It's been huge, and I think as an industry we're indebted to Trevor for the work. So we thank him as he moves off into retirement, but we're not letting him go too far. We still rely heavily on Trevor for advice and on all matters with AHBIC. So replacing Trevor, our new chair, Stephen Target. Stephen's a retired commercial beekeeper 15 years, previously in military, from New South Wales. Stephen is going to be really good for AHBIC. He has a sound knowledge of the beekeeping industry, really looking to progress not only AHBIC, but a lot of those key issues that we need to progress in industry as well. We also have had a change in CEO. So Helen Goodall resigned at Christmas, and I've stepped into the acting CEO role for 6 months, to buy us enough time to be able to really strategically look at AHBIC and look at the role, as well as go through the recruitment process and try and get the best candidate. So that was a competitive recruitment through an agency for which I applied, and luckily I've been successful in getting that role. So I'm just been appointed on the 1st of July as AHBIC CEO. We're also conducting a business review, so part of that strategic look at the role of CEO and how AHBIC is structured has prompted an independent consultant review of the business that's provided a lot of recommendations that the executive is working through to implement. So the core business of AHBIC is all about working to our strategic plan. So we have a current strategic plan in place that was developed in 2018. Now that expires next year. So there's a great opportunity for everyone to get involved in setting the direction of AHBIC and what you want AHBIC to be for the next 5 years. That's something that we'll start working on once we get over a little bit of the Newcastle incursion and get back to a bit of business as usual. It'll be one of the first tasks we need to really get started. So there'll be an opportunity for everyone in the industry to contribute to that and set that direction for the next 5 years. But this current plan is really focused around resource access and security, maintaining functioning markets. So that's including imported honey and try and do some work around making sure that it's not adulterated and at a fair and reasonable price. Queen exports as well as packaged exports to markets overseas and maintaining those and trying to unblock some of those blocked markets. Ensuring that the beeswax that is coming into the country is not adulterated and trying to work with government to develop policies to prevent that. As well as in there is testing, trying to develop better testing regimes to prevent adulterated honey. Biosecurity is a huge focus and obviously a real hot topic at the moment. So AHBIC's very much responsible for a lot of the biosecurity around the nation, including signatories to the deed, working with PHA on the different programs, and having oversight over the levies that fund the biosecurity. We're very focused on promoting the honeybee industry as a whole. The honeybee industry is really important that we promote it to all our stakeholders and the public in a really positive way. And so we've been working on trying to do that. Of course, as I mentioned earlier, funding's a real issue for AHBIC, so resources prevent us really ramping that up to where we want to get to. But that's hopefully something we can work on in the future. Education's been a big part, so setting the national standards to make sure everyone has access to high quality education to really improve our industry and provide labour. So biosecurity is at the forefront of everyone's mind at the moment, particularly when they think about AHBIC. So if I look back at the last few years of biosecurity and what's happened and what AHBIC's been involved in, we've had a number of detections. Some of those have been incursions, but the majority have been detections at port or on ships and been able to be cleaned up really quickly. Some, like the Asian honeybee, have not been able to be cleaned up and have transitioned to management, and we're living with those now. Obviously, the bottom one, Varroa destructor, there in 2022 is the most recent and probably the hottest topic going around. So I'll talk a little bit about AHBIC's involvement with the Newcastle incursion. So in any incursion pertaining to the honeybee industry, AHBIC is the signatory to the Emergency Plant Pest Response Deed, which, as described earlier, is an agreement between industries and government about how incursions are funded and agreed to and progressed. So in being a signatory to that deed, we're also participants in the consultative committee to the Emergency Plant Pest, as well as the National Management Group. Now, both these groups are the groups that oversee the response. They provide the direction and determine whether it stops or goes. So we're involved at that level as well. We provide oversight over our levies as an industry. So one of our important roles in this incursion is figuring out how we're going to be able to pay for it. So we have been, over time, contributing 4.6 cents a kilogram of honey sold, which has been divided up into different areas. One of those areas is into the Emergency Plant Pest Response Fund, which we do have some money in it, but not enough to pay for it. So we get 10 years to pay that back, pay that off. So we need to work as an industry to figure out how we can pay that. And that may involve either refining the existing programs and expenses or increasing the levy to bring more revenue in to pay for it. One of our big roles in any incursion is the industry liaison role. So in this incursion, we've very much had a big role in providing support to the incident management team. That's helping them with technical information, strategic planning, looking at how the response works. One of our really big roles is having a look at the response at a higher level and trying to pick issues before they become issues, and trying to make sure that we can bridge, between industry and government, or the combatant agency responsible, the DPI, and making sure beekeepers can still get some business continuity. And it's a really hard balance, but we've been stuck in the middle trying to negotiate that for the last 3-4 months. We found ourselves very heavily involved in communications as well in this response. Just relying on the government communications, we found is hasn't been good enough. We've needed to provide additional industry comms out there to get that really detailed information to beekeepers. And we've had someone in the response centre right from the start. I landed there the day after we were notified, and been there pretty much full time up until now. So what do we do on a day-to-day basis in the response? So as an industry liaison officer, I've been based, or AHBIC representatives have been based at Orange in New South Wales. Beautiful but very cold Orange. The State Control Centre is there and has a professional incident management team there that rotate through, that their full-time job is working in incident or emergency responses. So these guys have been rolling from one response to another, whether it be floods, fires, other incursions, and now Varroa. So they're very professional, know what they're doing, but they don't necessarily have all the honeybee industry expertise, and that's what we're there to help provide. So we'll often have our eyes over a lot of protocols, surveillance plans, risk assessments. We'll often cast eyes over comms before they go out. But like I said, a big role is to oversee and try and identify issues before they become issues, and work with them to find solutions to prevent that happening. We don't always catch it. There's been lots of issues that have come through that we probably should have caught earlier, but we didn't. But there's a lot of issues that we have caught as well that no one will ever know about. We attend that consultative committee and also the NMG, National Management Group, to provide the direction to the response and approve budgets. So a question I always get is, what's happening in the response? What's the future going to be? How are we going to, what does the next few years look like? And no one can really give people that answer because there is no plan. It all depends on how the response goes. But what we do know is the structure in place to make the decisions. So back early in the first couple of weeks of the detection, the consultative committee and particularly the National Management Group voted to eradicate. And once that vote to eradication is in, then we continue with eradication as the sole focus until a unanimous vote is that it's not technically feasible. So there's two terms they use a lot in the responses. It's about technical feasibility. So is it technically feasible based on the science and the information presented to eradicate the pest? And also the second layer of that is it cost beneficial? So the cost of the response and the benefits that eradicating the pest will have are still in the right balance. So for this response, there's 26 different parties, 15 or 16 industry parties, and all the governments, jurisdictions from across the country involved. And any decision has to be a unanimous vote. So we need a unanimous vote to deem that it is technically not feasible for the direction of the response to change. No one person has the power to change what we do. There's a response plan put in place that's also been voted on and agreed to, and the response has to stick to that plan. Any deviation from the plan then has to go back to those groups to be consulted and voted on again. The first 100-day plan is coming to an end. So the plan the new plan, which will bring us out for the next year or 2 or 3 of the response, is being negotiated and will be agreed to, and with the associated budget, and that will be the new plan that everyone has to work to moving forward. So again, I bring up the slide about supporting AHBIC. So you can see AHBIC does a lot of work. We can't do that without support of the industry, and so I encourage anyone out there who's not already a friend of AHBIC to consider becoming a friend. There's no long-term commitment, it's no minimum fee, it's just what you feel you can contribute to support AHBIC to continue the work that we're doing across the industry. And obviously the more resources we can get, the more work we can get done. So it's a direct relationship to support versus output. So how do you become a friend? Head over to the website, honeybee.org.au, click on the button to become a friend and follow the prompts. And yeah, I thank you for the time. It's I'm really excited to be able to present to the Tocal group, and yeah, if anyone wants to get in contact with us, head over to the website. All our details are there. Thank you very much.